Alright, so I'm gonna get back at it. We are at 11 a.m. on Saturday, uh, day after Black Friday 2020. Didn't go to any of the sales because of, well, not necessarily because of COVID-19, but because nothing seemed really. I never do Black Friday. Um, like nothing is ever interesting to me that they're selling at all. So, um, we're at the point now that I need to start building some of the interactive components of the game to actually be able to manipulate. We're representing the state of it on screen, in which I think I might even simplify this in some way. Because what I imagined it being was just like some text on the screen. Like even all of this is kind of graphical. I intended for it to move faster than this, and I've ended up spending a lot more time than I ever intended to. Um, Doing this stuff. But so um, now it's time to start doing some of the interaction. So I have to decide what my input method is going to be. How you're actually going to manipulate the game and make changes. Something I want to do. Something I want to do is to split this the JavaScript off into separate files. Because there's just a lot of stuff going on here. Instantly, I see a couple of things that I could probably split off, and that's data display because it's a separate object, and then card because it's a separate object. And then all I would have to do is to bring in, I think, separate JavaScript source files. I have to figure out how to do that. Now, part of the reason I want to do that is because when I go to the GitHub repo, it's all shown as HTML because the file is just an HTML file. And just looking at that, it doesn't fully portray what I've actually done there. To the extent that it matters, because my GitHub repo is very solitary. There's just me, just like this video. Yeah, so let me do that real quick, just as a warm-up. I always need these little mental warm-ups to be able to get into the groove. Make a new file. I'm going to call this card.js. And I'm going to move this into it. I am delete in it. I'm gonna then also move data display out of here. Yeah. Make another file called data display, which it doesn't have to have this name like in Java. I'm just indent that. And what else can I move out of here? I'm going to take let's see, these utility functions. These utility functions could probably be, yeah, they could probably be migrated out of here. Let's do that. pull these out. And then I'm going to make another file and call this util.js. Add those in there. And that puts all these in here. Okay, now, what I now have to redo is I'm going to have to include all of the JavaScript files that I need. I think I can do that with the source tag. Yeah, I'm going to include card.js. Let's see, how did I do that? W3 schools, multiple JS files. Let's try this. JS script tag source. Let's see. Yeah, of course I can do that. I know I can bring it in, but if I want to bring in multiple, if I'm not mistaken, let's see, HTML multiple script tags. Can I have multiple script tags? I've done this before. I'm trying to remember. It may be that I did everything inside of one class. Let me look in another one of my repos. I did this a while back. Yeah, and this is the main file. Created a new terminal object. Okay, yeah, I know what I did. What I did was each one of these then in turn, so if I go into terminal, it then instantiates the other stuff like the processor. And then if I go to processor, yeah, that's what I did. Because I'm passing around references. I'm passing around references. And then this one, owner is the terminal. And so I have a hook into that through there. Okay. So what I can do here, card definitely. Could be its own thing. Data display could be the hook, and what I can do is I can pass in a reference to. This is just kind of create a separation of concerns. I could pass in a reference. Let's see, what's the main thing? The main thing that we'll need is we'll need the cards, the tableau, the data representation of the tableau, and everything. This is going to make it. This will be a little bit of a hassle, but it's going to make it easier to deal with. I'm kind of going forward rather than having this one sort of long file. What I need to do is basically make an object for the data model. the data model actually needs to be, I feel like, encapsulated in some sort of a self-contained thing. It actually needs to be a data model. Like, it actually needs to be a thing with properties and everything, which its properties would be things like the deck of cards, the tableau. Those will be actual properties of it. And so I need to actually encapsulate that into something. So what I'm going to do, just for semantics, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call it solitaire data.js. Okay. I'm going to include it. Okay. It's going to become the main thing. Okay. In it, this is that thing. This is what I've been, like, that moment where it starts to, all right, this is like kind of what I've been dreading on, honestly, because what it's going to be is basically going to be a class. Again, ES5, because I'm a caveman. I don't know ES6 and in the real, class keyword and stuff. There's literally no reason for me not to learn it. Having looked at it, it looks like kind of like PHP's style, where you actually have the constructor keyword and whatever, but I don't care. Let's say function. I'm going to make it data, solitaire data, because I just really kind of like the way this feels, like the way you think about it. All right, solitaire data. And then I'm going to go into my has a relationship and is a and whatever. There's no inheritance here, so it's not an is a, has a. So the data model of our game has a deck of cards. It has a tableau. It has a stockpile. It has an available card from the data structure to hold the available card. It has foundations 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it will eventually have a display that it can actually display that data through. And so all of this will transfer more or less directly to, I'm going to copy this out and move those into here. But what I'm going to do is to declare these as it's also going to have a set of utility functions, and that what that will do is that will allow me, possibly, I can encapsulate this utility class into I'll call it like an initialization class, and I can create an initialization object which will then have these methods that I can then instantiate and use to manipulate the solitaire data. Okay, what I'm going to do, this is the linter. It's like running. That's always on in what is this, in brackets. Okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare each of these. These need to be public, basically. The way I go about that is by declaring them with this keyword. So this is some cleanup. That replace all of those. Alright, this is some cleanup that I kind of from just sketching out kind of left. Okay, so these are all members of solitaire data now. They're all kind of publicly accessible, even which is to say, wherever I instantiate this, I can access these from outside of it, which is needed in this case. Now I need to figure out how to deal with my utility functions. Do I want to bring all these into it as methods? I don't think so. Simply because if I do that, then I basically just make this cards.html again, like it starts getting long again. What I want to do is kind of keep it clean. What I can have this do is I can have solitaire data receive a reference to I'm going to say util. I'm going to call it initializer. Okay, it's going to receive I'm going to say this dot. This doesn't need to be accessible from outside. So I'm going to declare it with var. And then I learned this at some point. I don't know where I learned it. I think one time, a long time ago, when I was doing that thing I looked at in my GitHub repo, which is like a little network simulator thing that I created one time, that I started anyway. I learned like how to make private and public variables, because I was trying to I was thinking about JavaScript kind of like Java, because they look alike and a lot of things are similar. How to make private and public variables in ES5 classes or whatever. And a practice that someone suggested was when you make a variable that is private, by basically within a class, which is just a function, by declaring a variable with var, it only exists in this scope and not on the object, basically, so it's not accessible from outside, so it's effectively private. Prefixing those with an underscore just to mark them. And so I'm going to say var, well, which I don't have to do that here because initializer is in this scope. So initializer will be, I don't have to do like this dot initial. I'm not going to do that because I want it to be private, only for use inside here. But initializer will basically be this. It will be the object that I'm about to create here. Save this. It will be the object that I'm about to create here. I'm going to encapsulate these within an object. How do I do that? I'm going to say function. I can call it whatever I want to. Initial. I'm capitalizing it just because it's a class. It's not necessary. Initial. Just keep it simple. Init functions. And then inside of it, I will declare them on the object. So I'm going to say this dot deal cards equals this dot create deck equals what else do I have? This dot generate suit, this dot shuffle deck. Those are supposed to be indented. Let me indent this back. Yeah. This dot generate suit and this dot shuffle deck. So this dot generate suit is generate suit, not an internal. Yeah, create deck. Generate suit is actually an internal function of. So all this is supposed to be indented down to here. When I did that unindenting, I broke some alignment. Okay, that's that. All right, did I do it again anywhere else? Anywhere where I see, yeah, anywhere where I see brackets aligned wrongly. Okay, it's that. Okay, so generate suit is not one. It's inside of that. Shuffle deck is not one. No, shuffle deck is one, but check slot is not. Then create tableau. So generate is one. So I can get rid of that one. It's just create deck and then shuffle deck. Then create tableau. So the next one be shuffle deck and then this dot create tableau. All right, and then what I'm going to do is to come here and make some room, and I'm going to say function, and then I can take the guts of this. Let's get the indentation back right. I can take the guts of this now and copy it into there. I don't know why sometimes it still screws it up. Like this. So that's deal cards. This one is create deck. It gets all of this. I may want to pull that generate suit out and just make it a private function. Oh, I know what I'm doing because I copied the I copied also the indentation, so that's why I did that. What is this one? This gets so weird. That's this one. Well, I didn't copy the indentation that time, so it screwed it up anyway. So there we go. Okay. And next there's a shuffle deck. Pull the guts out of this. I'm going to copy the indentation. There. And then here. And it only did the first one. Like, it's trying to thwart me. Alright. That's that one. And then finally, this one, function. Create tableau. This one's simple enough. Alright. So now these are all objects. These are all methods of init functions. Let's put my little comment back in there for shuffle deck, because I still want to do that at some point in the far future once it's actually a game. And we can get rid of all this. Okay, so now all of that was just to make this. Let's see, is there a way that I could make generate suit just a private function? Does it rely on anything that's not public? I know it does for one, because it's all of this is relying on cards, which means that this is going to have these are going to have to share. So I'm attempting to send a reference for initializer inside of this one. So what I have here is I have a conflict in the sense that this can't be instantiated without the init functions from here, and this relies on elements from here, and so that means that data-wise they're tied together, which indicates that perhaps they should be in the same class. Yeah, because they can't exist without each other. Is there any way I could change the structure of this? One way I could do that is to encapsulate this into an initialized function, which might actually be the better way to do this. To simply yeah, well, the truth is, no, okay, I'm looking at that wrong, because the truth is this can, let me rename this. The truth is this can be instantiated without that, because these are just methods. They haven't been called. They don't do anything until they're called. And so this can definitely be instantiated. So I'm going to rename this and just call it init functions. Yeah, so this can be instantiated because these are just methods. All these are just init methods. Let's call it methods. Let's just call this init. I like that. Let's call it init. Again, this is just warm up for me. And then what that means is that this, I can see deck gets declared where? Deck gets declared inside here. Being that this is a class now, basically, it's its own object, what I could do is I could move some of these things out into the global scope of the object. Yeah, I could do that. Move some of these out into the global scope of the object. But for right now, that's fine. The function generate suit. There's no need to call it from outside. I would like to clean that up, but that's not necessary. So now I have solitaire data. What I'm going to do is I'm going to encapsulate this inside here. These are needed outside, so these being declared outside are fine, but I'm going to create a function here, this dot init game is a function, and I'm going to actually have them be initialized inside here. I'm just going to declare them out here. Okay, but I'm going to have them actually be initialized inside here, because this gives me something to call. What's actually going to happen is this is going to be initializer dot create deck. That'll go away. So all of this will come in here, and basically all of this will become this. These are simply declared. They're declared publicly in a public fashion so that they are accessible, but they won't get initialized until this is called. Okay, and all of this will get initializer dot in front of it. Okay. Yeah. These things, I guess, could be, but it's fine to just do it that way. Okay. All right. Okay, so back over here in init now. Is there anything else it needs? When it says things like cards, when it's referring to cards or what have you, it needs, so when this gets instantiated, it just comes to exist, and all these things come to exist. When this gets instantiated, it doesn't do anything until you call it. However, when you do call it, it's going to need access to this. So yeah, this is where I create that conflict. How can I do this such that I can pass initializer, because this is going to be looking for cards everywhere where it's referring to something from that class. I'm going to have to replace that with basically with solitaire data dot cards. So what I could do is have, what I could do is have init actually be the class that instantiates solitaire data. And then pass itself into solitaire data. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to say this dot, does this need to even be, it could be private. I'm going to say var, I'm actually going to call it game equals new solitaire data, and I'm going to pass it itself. And then now everywhere where cards exist. Let's see, what are those items? Cards, tableau, stockpile. The only things that's going to need is cards and tableau, and maybe stockpile. Anywhere where those are mentioned, cards. I'm gonna replace that with game. I'm gonna prefix it with game cards. Let's find, that's one. That's one. That's one. That's one. All right. That's all of those. And then tableau is going to be game.tableau. That's one. That's one. And then that one's fine. Okay. So that restructures that. Now it's looking at this object here. So when I call, what I'll end up calling is init. When I instantiate init, then solitaire data will get instantiated. Initializer is the init instance, and then I would need to, once it's instantiated in init, after it's instantiated, I would need to call game dot init game. And then that would start, that would set everything in solitaire data. That's not ideal, because what I wanted was to instantiate solitaire data and then have then be able to call init game. But now I'm not directly, which is continuing to beg for this to be brought inside of solitaire data, which was what I was trying to avoid, because I want to be able to I want it to be clear, because like this, I don't have access to solitaire data. And then data display, we haven't even gotten into it. Data display is gonna need, what is it gonna need access to? Does it use cards? It uses tableau. It's gonna need access to items from solitaire data. It's gonna need direct access to it. And if I'm wrapping it in init, which, I mean, I could expose this by making it this, saying game, just this dot game. But why is it inside of init? Init needs to be, which, I mean, okay, I'm just thinking about it wrong, because what I can do is, rather than passing it, I can just make initializer. Yeah, why am I doing that? I can just say var initializer equals new init, and then just fix all those. Okay, that makes this. I'm basically just doing the reverse. I don't need to do that anymore. Okay, that creates a new init. And then, so now when I instantiate this, it creates a new init, and then I can just call init.game, solitaire data.init game, and then it does that. Okay, now what that does is that allows me for a data display. All I have to do is come to data display now and look for references to items from the solitaire data class, anything that was using that public stuff. For example, this. Now, data display will need a reference to the game. So this will accept game. I'm going to give it a capital G. This will accept game. And so what I'll do is anywhere where it refers to, I'll look for Tableau, just naked Tableau, not that, not that. What's Tableau display? What is Tableau display? Tableau display is not in here. This is Tableau. What is Tableau display? Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's that. Okay. That's right. It's the array that gets created inside here because it's suffixed with display. Okay. Tableau display. Okay, of Tableau. In this case, I want to replace this with game.tableau. Replace that one. Skip that one. Okay, that's it. That was the only reference to something with that. Okay. Stockpile. How did I deal with the stockpile? Where's the data for stockpile? Because the data display will need access to, well, no. Did I miss implementing something here? Because this is here to back up the foundations. These represent the actual display of the foundations, but there's no tie between those two. That will actually need to be handled somewhere here in refresh to actually put those things on screen. So this first thing, all this does is put the Tableau on screen. I'm gonna have to next come here. Well, I get why, because none of this actually gets affected until gameplay, until a move is made, and that's where we get to where we are now, to actual interaction, because nothing happens here except technically this represents the stockpile, but it has no representation. If I wanted to, I thought about maybe like putting a number here to represent how many cards are in the stockpile, but none of this, for all intents, gets refreshed or anything until an actual move is made in the game. So that's why that doesn't have anything in refresh. Okay, so now back in, so card, it doesn't change. It's just utilized. Oh, okay. Card, I need some sort of a, because solitaire data, init uses card because it's generating cards. Okay, how do I handle that? How do I handle that? Because card needs to be visible. Um, hmm. It seems like card, because this is not like Java where you can just do an import or whatever. It seems like card needs to be a component of solitaire data. It either needs to be a component of solitaire data, which this is just the data model. It just utilizes these things. It's just a holding place for the data. So it doesn't actually create anything. So um, this, I guess, actually needs to be a part of init, honestly. Yeah. Let's pull this inside init, because it's really, yeah, I mean, it's really just a utility class. I mean, it's like the main utility class, like in the sense of, but it's really just a utility class. Nothing else uses it except this. Yeah, and by putting it in here, I don't have to change anything because it can see it. All right, now let's go back to cards. This is where the big changes are going to have to happen. Okay, the only thing that's going to remain here is going to be this. It's going to be this DD where I create the data display. What I'm going to have to do now, the first thing that's going to have to happen is I'm going to have to instantiate solitaire data. And then initialize the game. Then I'll have to instantiate the data display, because if I'm thinking like model view controller, cards.html is the controller. So it's responsible for that. Let's see, var, I'm going to say SD is new solitaire data. And then I'm going to say sd.init. Let's go back to solitaire data. Yeah. Yeah. sd.init game. Yeah. I can get rid of all this notation because it doesn't really help anymore. Okay, so I basically create a new data model and basically tell it to initialize. I create a new display and then tell it to initialize. Thinking, I know that there's going to be some kinks to iron out. Yeah. So I call new solitaire data. Here in solitaire data, what happens? The first thing it does is it creates a new init object, which does nothing but bring in these functions into scope for use. It creates these variables, then this function is available now after this object is created. And so I call it in mid-game, and it then uses that new initializer object to create the deck, store that in cards. That's a conflict because initializer, no, that can't work because initializer is looking for cards. Well, is it? Okay, what is cards at this point? What is cards? If I say create deck, okay, what is cards? What does it expect cards to be? Well, no, it initializes it. Okay. For deck. And then at the end of it, it returns shuffled deck. It returns a shuffled deck of cards. Okay. And so cards becomes that. It returns a shuffled deck of cards at the end of it. Tableau, because create tableau, what does that do? It returns a tableau, basically. Okay. So that works. All right. The only thing we can do is just try to run it. And see how it comes out. What I'm going to do, probably should have, there's no reason to get, scared now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this out in case I should have done this beforehand. Old.html. I'm going to copy out basically the old file, which I have it through the, the GitHub or whatever, but that gives me the old version of it. Okay. Is this live right now? Oh, this is live. So if I refresh it, it should pull the new page. Get the console open and refresh. Okay, unexpected identifier in cards.html line, what does it say? Solitaire data, line 18. Unexpected identifier, what is this thing? Oh, initializer. Oh, okay, that wasn't supposed to be there. Okay, it's quasi good sign that something's not happening. I have here init is not defined. Oh, that's true. How is it supposed to see init? And there is the problem again. In that, how is it supposed to see this? How is it supposed to see this other class? You can't import. This is not Java. How is it supposed to see init? Which makes it feel like this is supposed to be in there. Well, I know how I could do it. I would need to do it this way. I would need to do it like this. Let's do this. Get rid of this line. I'm just gonna do this initializer, and then come back to cards.html and have this. But again, all this pulls in is solitaire data. It doesn't pull in init. I need some way to tie these two together. So I'm gonna have to put the quickest, easiest way is to just put the two of these in the same file. I mean, granted, they're in two different objects, so it's not so terrible, because now this works because init, it knows what init is. It's a game. What was a game before? Where did the game come from? Didn't I instantiate? Wait a minute, what's wrong? Where did the game come from in init? Alright, this has got confusing here now. Where is game? Where was its reference to? Where does this get declared? Is it never declared in here? How does it get its reference to? If I do this, alright, and then come back to solitaire data, it can't pass a reference to because it can't even do. It can pass a reference to this, to itself, into there, can't it? Because it's when it first. Let's comment this out. Alright, this got weird on me because I apparently did something I wasn't really paying attention to. The fundamental problem is still, though, that it doesn't know what init is. Yeah, that's still not valid, because these two, the way I would have to do that is like this. I would have to say game, like that. What does it say now? Data display. That's right. Well, this doesn't need to be in here. Let's copy that straight out of that. What is this? Deck is not defined. Oh, did deck not come from here? deck is not defined. Shuffle deck is not defined. Oh, that's true. Because let's see if we can see it. Yeah, I would have to do this. Yeah. So we'll have to see those things. What all is missing now? If I go back to cards, what do? I create new solitaire data, and then I run init game. So in solitaire data, I've created in init. The problem is going to be down here in init somewhere. Has to be somewhere down here in init. What am I doing in solitaire data? I'm creating solitaire data. Init game. Okay, new data display. Let's see what's going on in data display. All right. It doesn't recognize of, which I don't think that's a problem. Strange, I'm not getting any sort of error from here. It's bringing in solitaire data. Okay, is data display taking something for granted anywhere? Game.tableau. Data display should see new data display. Oh, okay. I need to pass it SD. Yeah, it needs to have that object. Cards.html. And so in cards.html, new data display SD, and SD in data display represents game. And so all I'm doing is accessing the Tableau. Let's look in the elements and see what's not happening. What is not happening? Table box is not getting filled. All right, I'm gonna pause real quick. All right, let's get back to being confused in this thing that I've created for myself. But this isn't getting populated. There are lots of possible little problems that I don't know, you know, what I've done here, but by this not being populated, that causes me to point at something specific. So I'm seeing solitaire data as being the only thing that's pulled in, which is to say that data display is not being pulled in. So when I'm saying new data display, why it's not giving me an error, I don't know. It has no idea what the heck this is. which again is to say that data display needs to be in that file along with solitaire data, which all I managed to do, like with all this screwing around, was just to end up and encapsulate everything into a class, but then put them all into the same file. I know that there's a way to split up into different files. It's just, I mean, this is the way. The relationships between the objects has to be better structured than it currently is. That's all. Let's refresh. All right, what happened now? Still didn't populate anything. Okay, what I could do, because that's inside, okay, solitaire data. I need to initialize this inside. So in init game, I could move this inside of here. Let's see what this does. I'm gonna move this inside here. Yeah, because I actually had this .dd and pass it a reference to this. And then I could get rid of this anyway. Let's see what happens if I go back here and then call dd refresh. Because now let's see. Data display is down here. I don't know anymore. I just kind of complicated it. And it's still not doing anything. Let's do this. I'm going to go into my sources and I'm going to try to debug it. Let's see if I can see where the break, where is it breaking? I'm gonna come to here and refresh. Wait, no, sorry. Let's get rid of that. Come to here and refresh. Let's see. Why is it not breaking? Let's see. It's doing a function call. Should it not? I can never figure out how to use the debugger like ever. If I do this, okay, because yeah, nothing is happening. Solitaire data, that's the var initializer. This new unit. That doesn't make any sense. Does it even notice? It doesn't even notice. And that starts to make me wonder, like, is this even happening? It doesn't even notice that I, like, it doesn't even notice. What does that say? Oh. This isn't even running. It's coming into solitaire data. Nothing ever happens in solitaire data. Okay. Hold on. Let's undo that. Honestly, undo that. I could undo a lot of things because I think I may have discovered it's not even running this because I have a source tag in here. All right. How do I even bring... Let's do this. How do I even bring this into scope of this? All right, solitaire data is not defined. Now, it actually sees this now. Okay. All right. How do I bring... let's go back because I cannot remember. Let's go back in here. How did I even do this before? This is index.html. I don't want to see that. I want to see the actual source. Index.html. That's right. That was... I didn't even notice this. That was what I went to do the first time. All right. This type of stuff makes me like sometimes want to just scream of just not following like the instincts that I had. It was to add script tags that bring in each of my freaking files. I could bring in card. I could bring in data display, everything that I've been struggling with. I could bring in all of them. I knew that I'd done this before. Like, it's stuff like this that and then I can bring in init. That's how you tie all of them together. And then the initial way that I was doing it actually becomes valid. Let's see what even happens now. Okay. Now I'm actually in my code. All right. Oh, Christ. Jesus. This is insane. So now what I can do I can come back out in here. I'm gonna have to refactor all the little stuff that I changed. I can come back in here. I can delete. Did I destroy any files? Data display is still there. Init is still there. I didn't destroy them. So I can go back, and then card is still there. So I can go back to solitaire data. I can strip all of this back out. Delete that. I can come back here and pull out the data display, and I can move this back to cards.html and put it back where it was. Okay. I can also come back in init. Let's see, I can come back in solitaire data. And I can get rid of this. Yeah. I can get rid of this. And I can put it back here. And then I can come back here and I can let this handle that. I can say var init equals new init. Oh, no, I'm creating that problem again. Solitaire data needs an initializer, and init needs a game. But does init actually need the game? Which one? This keeps bouncing back and forth in my head. One of them doesn't actually need the other. Yeah, was this the do that and then come back here? Just create solitaire data and then call. All right, that was the original. All right, so shuffle deck is not defined. At init, create deck. All right, so init, where's shuffle deck? At line 63, return this dot shuffle deck, and then this dot deck. Cannot read property 0 of undefined. This is at 113. Just deck. Wait a minute. Where is deck? Okay, that's not this. I shouldn't have did that. That's not this. Deck is not defined. Oh, these are two different scopes. I thought, yeah, no. These are two different scopes. Create deck. Where's the end of this? That ends there. Shuffle deck. It was relying on access to deck. Return this dot shuffle deck. Okay. Shuffle deck is not accepting. Okay. Tableau, game.tableau is not iterable. It's on 40 in data display. 40, 40, 40. Okay, what does it see? Okay, what am I passing in here as game? So for data display, what is it receiving as game? It's receiving, oh no, it should be receiving SD. Finally. This is insane, some of the ridiculousness. This is caused fundamentally by me being dense and not paying attention. So, after an hour and a half of literal just nothing, I've managed to split the files up into separate files. I want to find out about this of keyword. I don't know if this is brackets. I have this sense that of was an ES6 thing. Is that true? JS for of. Is for of ES6. If it is, I need to stop using it because ES5. What is this? ECMAScript, ECMA 262. What is that? Does it say when it was done? Let's hit for of. Let's see. ES6 features. Yeah, it was a ES6 feature. I need to figure out how to eliminate it from my parlance from use, or I need to just go ahead and understand classes. Because this would limit me in like old browsers, Internet Explorer, whatnot. I can't do that. Yeah. So I have to, I'm mixing features saying, oh, I'm using ES5 in some cases and I'm using ES6 in other cases, and I don't like that. I can't do that. So I need to learn ES6, basically. I'm going to have to start using classes or whatever. For right now, it's fine. It's just I think this would error out because if I'm not mistaken, for of does not work in Internet Explorer. I think if I say IE ES6, for of loop. Let's check it. Yeah. Internet Explorer does not support it, so that would leave me screwed there. So I have to stop mixing features, and so I just gotta learn either just stop doing this, or I like the clarity of the syntax and that you're actually dealing with each object, but I can't mix those. Okay, so I got the file split up, which is great, in that it allows me to deal with each little thing separately now. The relationships between the objects, it could be better because I'm passing around references. Solitaire data is the data model. And it holds it initializes its utility function object, which is init, and passes a reference to itself in. So those objects are available inside of there. And then data display is its own thing. It also gets a reference to the game, to the data model. I'm just going to go ahead and put that underscore there to make that clear that that's sweet. So the main stuff is, I should have just went with my instinct in the first place. The main stuff, I bring in these other files into the scope of this program like this by including them in source attributes of the script tags. And then in an actual script in page, I then use JavaScript to instantiate the game model and then initialize it and set up the display, and it actually displays it for the first time. One thing that I see that I might want to do, I'm gonna have to somehow, all of this is to set up to be able to begin adding interaction. The game is going to have to be ongoing. Every time you submit a move or something to the game, which I still have to decide how to do that, it needs to be refreshed. So this initial refresh is just, I would like to set this up so that it's just set up, it semantically just says initialize, basically, and sets the game up for the first time. And then something else takes over, which that's what I need to define now. Basically, what's going to act as the input arbitrator or whatever, what's going to keep the game flow going. So, this is a good place to pause. This was basically just a view into my confusion, because it was just that. It was just confusion. Because I started off just sketching, and it's good to do a refactor like this. If you're building a project like this, it's good to just do a refactor and clean stuff up, because imagine if we get this thing all the way down and the game is actually playable and everything, and you've got 1,000 lines or something that you need to split up. You'll start doing things like I was doing, basically taking advantage of the fact that certain things were global, and I could just create another function here that access that. Well, once I split it up, you start to basically, when you do that, you start to basically make it impossible to split it up later. And so that was what just caused me trouble there. And even now, this isn't perfect. Having references get passed around like this. I like that the utility functions are often kind of their own object. I do like that. Because all of these things happen once. It really is the initializer class. So I like that, actually. Everything in here serves a purpose, and it's all in one place. I actually came to appreciate the fact that generate suit is an inner function, because it doesn't need to be outside, because it's only used inside there, which that's really cool. So this is legit the initializer class, which is cool. I'm gonna actually rename this initializer. Then I'll have to change it in here. New initializer. And then I'll have to change it back here. Initializer. Yeah. Cool. So now next, I can actually start building the gameplay and trying to just make some decisions about what how I'll actually do input into the game. Didn't expect that to take quite that long. I knew it might be messy, but didn't expect it to take all that. So be back in a few minutes, I guess, for more torture.